Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I am your host, Pee Wee the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, the number one Knicks fan in the world, aka Mr. Know-It-All. And Ben. Man, y'all know I love me some Ben Simmons. If you know me from Through the Wire, if you know me from Twitter, if you know me from Instagram, if you know me from just YouTube, you know I love me some Ben Simmons. I've been a big Ben Simmons fan since he was coming out of high school, going into LSU, and then coming out of LSU, being the first overall pick. I never agree with the LeBron James comparisons. I never saw that, but I won't lie, and I'll be honest. I have seen the potential in Ben Simmons, and I still see it to this day. I know right now for a lot of people on Twitter especially, this is a time where a lot of people got to get their jokes off. Understood. I know how the Twitter game works and how NBA Twitter is. When somebody's doing the worst that they can do, they're playing their worst basketball. Very few people are going to try to put context and put meaningful information out there. It's just going to be jokes and jokes and jokes. So I get it. And I'm not here in this video to defend Ben Simmons. So I don't want anybody to think that this is a Ben Simmons defender video or we're defending Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was terrible. Ben Simmons was terrible all series. And we've all known Ben Simmons and his flaws. We've known him for the last few years. Some of us who have known Ben Simmons since he came out of LSU, we saw some of these flaws at LSU in that one and done year. But more so in the NBA, we've known that Ben Simmons, is a lack of an outside threat. He's going to be a guy that at times isn't even going to look at the basket. But I don't think we've ever seen Ben Simmons like this. This is a game. This is a series, but ultimately in this Game 7, this is a game where we literally saw Ben Simmons have a wide open dunk to tear down the rim and ignite the crowd and to let him get, and he passed it to Matisse Thybulle, who got fouled and missed one of the free throws. So smart play by the Atlanta Hawks, but it's this right here for Ben Simmons. I think we've seen Ben Simmons hit this basement level by just the mentality. You know what I mean? Even the free throws. I think Ben Simmons, they showed a stat where Ben Simmons had like 48 missed free throws in the playoffs, and that was more than a couple of teams in the entire playoffs. So right now is a situation where Ben Simmons has to get out of his own mental, his own mind, and he has to really go into this offseason and really, really work on his game. Not just be in the gym, because it's the thing that NBA players should do. Oh, it's the offseason, I got to be in the gym. But legitimately breaking down, stripping his game apart, and rebuilding it up so he can get this right here in order. Because I don't care how good he is as a passer, how good of a defender is, if he continues to be in his mind like we just saw in this past game, in this past series, and we saw in other series in previous years, he'll never be the impactful player that he could potentially be. I have never thought Ben Simmons was going to be LeBron James, but I have, and I still do think Ben Simmons can be a valuable, high-level NBA player. He's already been an all-star X amount of years. He's second in Defensive Player of the Year voting for this year. He's arguably the best overall defender in the game. That's value right there. But his offensive side is so bad that in certain stretches of the series, Doc Rivers couldn't play him. And it's not good. It kind of evens out your defensive, value, because you can't even play on one. You're so bad on one side that we can't even use your defensive value because you're that bad. So I need Ben Simmons to go into this offseason. I really need him to strip his game down, hit the gym, and really get better. Now, as far as Ben Simmons in his future with the Philadelphia 76ers, as much as I'm a big Ben Simmons fan and I like Ben and I see the potential, and even in his lowest and at his worst, which is today in this past series, I still can see value in him. I just think that we won't see his fullest value in Philadelphia, and because Philadelphia has a championship window that was just this close. They were just this close to being in the Eastern Conference Finals and playing against the Bucks to potentially be in the finals and having a legitimate chance to win, because it's as open as it was ever going to be. You know what I mean? The Lakers had injuries and they're out. The Heat, you just messed everything up this year and got swept. The Nuggets had an injury and they got swept. Brooklyn went down to Milwaukee because of the injuries they had. This was a year that if Philly made it and won this game, they would have had a high level chance of winning it. Now next year, we talking about the Warriors getting healthy, the Lakers are getting healthy, teams are going to make moves. You know what I mean? And the Brooklyn Nets will be healthy with a full year under their belt. You know, whenever teams are starting to get back healthy and finding out the missing pieces and they're going and everybody's making moves and coming back better, it gets that much harder. So when you have this window that they had, it's just super unfortunate. And I think now is the time that they have to make a move. And I think we have some moves. One of the moves that I think needs to be made is Ben Simmons teaming up with another transcendent big man, but instead of in the East, it would be in the West. I think the time is here. You know, this is just one of my trade situations and options and things like that, but I think it's time that Ben Simmons is traded all the way to cold-ass Minnesota and to team up with Karl-Anthony Towns. I know a lot of Minnesota Timberwolves right now are going to be like, wait, keep him as far away from my team. I don't want him. What can Ben do? But you have to remember, don't think emotionally and don't think with such a recency bias mind. It's hard. It's easy right now to pretend that Ben Simmons isn't a valuable basketball player. It's easy to do that because he just saw the worst of the worst. That's just like when a player who isn't that good has a breakout night. You know, when TJ Warren was in the bubble and he was dropping 40, it was easy to just hype him up and pretend that TJ Warren is just elite, right? But we have to use our basketball minds to even things out, come to the grasp of reality, and understand that that's not really who Ben Simmons is. He had a tough series and a tough situation we got in his own mind, but as an overall basketball player, he's still an all-star caliber, defensive player of the year caliber, one of the best all-around defenders in the game. And if you put him in the right situation offensively, it can unlock a certain level of confidence and a certain level of comfort that can have him have some type of value offensively that won't hurt you as much as it hurted the Philadelphia 76ers. And the reason I think that team can be the Minnesota Timberwolves is because first and foremost, Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the best one of the best shooting big men we've ever seen, let alone in the league right now, right? So when you put that together, this is a guy that can legitimately shoot the ball. And I know Joel Embiid can knock down shots. You know, Joel Embiid, you know, can shoot the three ball, but he can't shoot it as well as Karl-Anthony Towns, and he's not as comfortable shooting it like Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns is a legitimate floor spacing five who is also a guy that's going to eat around the rim as well, which is why he's transcendent. He just hasn't been put in a situation to where his game could be fully on display for everybody to see. I think Karl-Anthony Towns played in the playoffs one time that year against the Rockets when they had Jimmy Butler. So I think the guy that could go over there and help Karl-Anthony Towns is Ben Simmons. You know, when you look at Karl-Anthony Towns' tenure with Minnesota, that four position has always been something that's vacant. They've never had a strong four in the front court next to Karl-Anthony Towns. And that's why I would play Ben Simmons. I think Philadelphia, what they will want is somebody that can play off the pick and roll with Joel, make outside shots, can be a scoring threat, and can also play point guard and make certain decisions. And I think that guy is D'Angelo Russell. Also, these are two guys who make, you know, around the same money. I think Ben is around 28 to 29, and D'Angelo Russell is around the same part, close to 30. So if you're talking about money matching, these two guys money match perfectly. We don't even have to go into details. Those are two guys who can be traded straight up for each other. And coming off of the series that Ben Simmons had, I think his value will be pretty low because people are stuck in recent mind. And if they're like the viewers, you know, it's going to be a guy that you can sell or get pretty low. You know, I think if you ask this question going into this season, a lot of people wouldn't have been that high on D'Angelo because we hadn't seen him play in a while. And you know, I think people have certain questions and doubts on D'Angelo Russell. But I think right now, coming off the season, Ben Simmons just hadn't played. Some of the spot, you know, situation that we saw D'Angelo Russell in this year give some confidence boost there. And I think it's exactly what both teams need. Will this trade happen? I don't know. You know what I mean? There's Damian Lillard ruffles, which is, we'll get to all of that because I have other trade suitors that I think would fit with Ben Simmons and could be a possibility. But on paper and off the top of my mind right here, literally 20 minutes after the game is done with no research, I'm not looking up anything off the top of my mind right now, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves could legitimately thrive with having Ben Simmons as their point forward, Draymond Green type guy next to a legitimate floor spacing 5 like Anthony Towns. And then you're still surrounding him with other talent. You have Anthony Edwards, you have Malik Beasley, you have this top 3 pick. Hopefully they keep it and they can draft somebody or trade it. Or if all fails, it falls out of the top 3 and it goes to the Warriors, which then makes them should put pressure on them to make a move. Anyway, but I think that would be ideal for the Timberwolves. And then on the flip side, I think that the 76ers will get somebody too. I think it's been a while since we've seen D'Angelo Russell play high-level basketball because of the Warriors situation. That was just a weird, tricky season. And then, the pandemic came, and then he goes to the Timberwolves, and, there's injuries, and they barely played together. But I think there's still some value in D'Angelo Russell, especially if you're not asking him to be the best player on the team. The 76ers, they have quality pieces there. It's being built around Joel. So I think D'Angelo Russell is good enough to be a pick-and-roll option with Joel Embiid. He can be an outside threat, 3-level scorer, also has great decision-making, can make big-time shots. Ice in my veins, he got that name for a reason. And then you still would have Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle. You know what I mean? There's things that's still there in Philly. So I like that trade for them as well. As far as getting D'Angelo Russell. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's probably my favorite trade that I can come up with off the top of my mind. When I look around the league at other places, I'm really trying to find situations and places that allows the 76ers to get that. They get a guy who can knock down shots, play the pick and roll with Joel Embiid, and not really be that liability offensively that Ben was. And when I look around the league, I look at another team like Indiana. Indiana with a guy like Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, he's not as young as Ben Simmons. He's not, doesn't have the same amount of all-star appearances and things like that. But he makes a pretty decent amount of money. It wouldn't be tough to make those contracts work at all. He defends the basketball really well. Nice point guard. A bigger point guard around 6'5". And this is a guy who 50, 40, 90 before. Very efficient shooter, good decision maker, has incredible pace. And I think he would be another good pick-and-roll threat there. And because it's Malcolm Brogdon and not much of a D'Angelo Russell, and the age, he's a little older and whatnot, you might can even get another little piece from Indiana. That's a trade that you don't have to do head up. They can add some pieces and things around it. And then on the flip side for Indiana, it would be tough to see the direction they go, because then acquiring Ben Simmons, you like it, especially with a guy like Miles Turner a little bit because he likes to shoot it. But then the question is, what do you do with Sabonis? Because the floor of having Sabonis, Turner, and Simmons, then you probably would have him out there with Karis LeVert. It isn't super ideal. But if the Pacers really wanted to break things up and get things going, the first part of it would be for me to try to acquire a guy like Ben Simmons for Malcolm Brogdon and some others and just try to make that work. But Indiana isn't really getting a star in free agency. Nobody's coming over there. Ben Simmons would be the closest high-level name that they will be able to get, in my personal opinion. And then, Sabonis would be a valuable trade market. So if you wanted to flip both of those guys and go in a whole different direction, you would have a good start with Ben Simmons, Karis LeVert, still have Miles Turner, and then whatever you would be able to pick up from a Sabonis trade, which I think would get you a lot. That would be a nice start to a rebuild where you start fresh, you reset it, and you have some nice young talent on there, and that team sounds fun on paper. And then, again, depending on what you would be able to pick up from Sabonis, it just continues to add to that youth movement. But because right now where the Pacers is going, I think the Pacers are a solid team. They had a down year this year. I don't think that's who they are as a team. I think they're a legitimate playoff team in the East. But again, they're a team that's kind of like just around. They're kind of stuck where Malcolm Brogdon is solid. Sabonis is solid. These are solid all-star level players. Turner is nice for them. Jeremy Lamb when he's healthy. Oladipo was solid back when they had him. But that's really what they are, solid. I don't ever see them with the current roster that they have making some deep, serious playoff push to get into contention. So because of that, hit the reset early, move away from Brogdon, try to see if Brogdon and some other things and some change can get you with Ben Simmons. You already got Karis LeVert, and then you move on from that and try to see what you can do from Sabonis. And I know it sounds like a 2K rebuild. It sounds like a 2K rebuild for sure, but I think that there's some potential there with the Indiana Pacers and Ben Simmons and the Sixers as well. Now, another team that everybody on Twitter keeps bringing up, obviously, is the Portland Trail Blazers because of the season that they had and, Damian Lillard, is it time for them to trade him? Is it time for him to request a trade? I know everybody's talking about that. But it's hard for me to see that the Portland Trailblazers would trade Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons. And I just don't know what type of package the Sixers would do, and if it would be enough to lure away Damian Lillard. So it more reasonable and more realistic to me would maybe be CJ McCollum. Maybe try to find a way that CJ and Ben can be traded for each other. Would it be head up? I don't see why it couldn't be. But maybe, I've seen some CJ plus Robert Covington for Ben and some other stuff. I could see that working as well. It would be different for Portland. It would be intriguing because, again, the Portland Trailblazers have traditional bigs like the 76ers, which is why I would be hesitant, and I don't like it for Ben. Because with my basketball mind and my logic, what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to trade or put Ben Simmons in trade situations that's going to put him in the same situation he's in with Philadelphia. I think the value you get from Ben Simmons is kind of like Giannis. Ben Simmons and Giannis aren't the same player to a T, but they have some similarities where the outside shot is what they lack, and a bag is what they lack. They're not guys that are shot creators. They're not guys that's looking to shoot it too much. Credit to Giannis, he's grown confidence to be able to start taking some mid-range shots and a three-point shot to kind of round his game out. But I think that comes from confidence. I think that comes from an organization and a team and a coaching staff letting you know that this is your team. It starts and ends with you. That ain't a situation Ben has been in. That conversation is going on with Joel. Joel is the guy who's getting all the confidence because it's being built around him. Ben hasn't been in a situation where a team is being completely built around him and is on his shoulders to have that confidence to say, I can do whatever the hell I want to do. And, that's I think that's been part of his detriment. You know what I mean? I think Giannis kind of, benefited from that a lot, from a team and organization saying, we trust you, do what you need to do, and this is your team. And I think if Ben Simmons can get that confidence from an organization and feel like the guy for a team, he would start, playing a little bit more freely. I think right now he's in his own mind a little too much, and he just needs a confidence booster. So I'm looking for teams and situations that will put him in a situation where he wouldn't be playing with a Nurkic, because then if you have Nurkic and Ben on the floor together, it's the same thing as Joel, except to a lesser degree, because Nurkic doesn't shoot it as well as Joel. So when I'm thinking about destinations for Ben, that's why I'm saying Indiana with Turner, because Turner is comfortable shooting a three. I'm thinking about Ben with Minnesota because Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the greatest big man shooters we've ever seen from three. And then you have another scorer with Anthony Edwards. So, Ben can really be Ben. Ben could be a high level, younger version of Draymond, more athletic with the Timberwolves. And then with the other roster moves that they can make with their pick, just get some more shooting. You would have a Malik Beasley, Anthony Edwards, Ben Simmons, and Towns out there, and if like I said, if they can get a top 3 pick to add to that, that would be scary. That would be tremendously scary. And I just think that that's the best one. And yeah, I mean, so it's a bunch of options out there. You look around and you see, guys that are all being dangled around, Porzingis and the Mavericks. But again, I just don't think that makes sense for the Mavericks to trade Kristaps for Ben, because number one, it's a Luka with everybody around him. Ben Simmons around, like sitting waiting for Luka to throw him the ball is just not ideal. And then the 76ers, what are they going to do with Porzingis? I'm seeing people try to tie Ben to the Knicks. I like the Knicks. That's my team, obviously. But we don't have shit to give to the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers are looking to win a championship. So, even the Kemba Walker thing, that situation, I like that more than some of the other options I've heard. And I know Kemba isn't, super crazy with the value because of his knee and everything. But again, he's a point guard like D'Angelo Russell, where he's going to play pick and roll with Joel Embiid. He has shot-making ability. He's going to put pressure on your defense. He's not going to be a liability on the offensive end. And technically, because of what Ben Simmons did this playoffs, it's an upgrade. That's all Philly is looking for. They're looking for an upgrade on the offensive end who could play the pick and roll and have extremely good shot-making, so Joel Embiid can really get on that block and work and feast on a night-by-night basis without having to get double-teamed because of Ben's lack of shooting or lack of just, offensive aggression. So That would be another team. I wouldn't mind seeing Ben in OKC with Shea at all, and OKC has the picks. I talked about this in my earlier NBA Weekly video after the Kemba trade. That like Kemba is with OKC, but I wouldn't get so ready to see Kemba in OKC. He might be moved as well, the same way OKC moved on from Kelly Oubre last year when they got him, and the fact that the Thunder have 4 potential first round picks with the 4th overall projected pick. They could get the 5th pick if the Houston Rockets pick fall to 5. It becomes OKC's. They have the 16th pick that they just got from Boston, and then they also have the 18th pick, and then they have the 35th and 36th pick plus the 55th pick. They have 7 total picks. 4 of them could potentially be first round. Even if they don't get the Rockets' first round pick, let's say the Rockets keep their pick, that's still 3 first round picks. So on paper, because Ben Simmons makes the money, Kemba makes the money, that already, cancels out the money match. But then if OKC also says, man, we'll give you Kemba, we'll give you the 18th overall pick, and we'll give you the 35th pick, give us Ben Simmons. If nothing else is out there and Philadelphia is as desperate as I think they'll be, and Daryl Morey ain't afraid to pull the trigger on any trade, I think that could be something that we could see. And then again, the Thunder would have a top 4 pick or top 5 pick. They'll have Shea. You add Ben to that with Darius Bazley, Lou Dort, Svi Mikhailuk, Isaiah Roby, Pokashevsky. There's just so many different looks that the Thunder can run if they were to acquire Ben Simmons in some type of way. Again, these are all trades that I'm just rocking with off the top of my mind. 25 minutes post Game 7. There are going to be a lot of more discussions and realistic research-based trade mocks that's going to come up all summer, because it's going to be a topic that's going to be hot all summer, especially with the way the market is going to look in free agency. A lot of teams are going to be trying to aggressively trade and move around and get better, because this isn't a high-level free agency class. But that's a wrap for me, man. Those are my 5 Ben Simmons trades off the top of my mind, fresh off of a Game 7. We got Ben Simmons being traded to the Timberwolves for D'Angelo Russell. Whether you want to head up or you want to add things, the basis would be Ben Simmons for D'Angelo Russell, where the Sixers get a guy who can play the pick and roll with Joel. He can hit big shots. He's a 3-level scorer, and he's a hell of a decision maker. The Timberwolves get a point forward with Ben Simmons, who can play with an actual floor spacing big in Karl-Anthony Towns. They still have other scoring options with Anthony Edwards. They potentially could keep their pick. Also got Malik Beasley, Josh Okogie. It's things there that can make that work. Our other trade is Ben Simmons with the Pacers, and the Pacers mixing up something, but the focus of it would be a Malcolm Brogdon, probably with some other things. But then again, with Malcolm Brogdon, the Sixers get an older, mature, efficient, solid two-way decision maker with Malcolm Brogdon, and then the Pacers will put themselves in an early reset and then open up the wide range of possibilities of trading Sabonis to hit a hardcore reset centered around Ben Simmons, Karis LeVert, and Miles Turner, who again is a floor spacing big that likes to shoot threes. The third trade, because it just is what it is Ben Simmons with the Portland Trail Blazers. CJ Covington maybe going to Philadelphia for Ben and Maxey or something like that, or Ben and whoever, Shake or something like that. I think that's one of my lowest possible trades. I don't really like that one, but I know a lot of people are talking about the Blazers making a move with their backcourt. The fourth trade would be Ben going to OKC for Kemba Walker and some type of range of picks. And then OKC getting Ben Simmons and putting him around all that young talent. And then I don't even want to count it, but I've seen people talk about it anyway. Ben Simmons somehow going to the New York Knicks, even though I have no idea we will give them. But people are talking about it, so we'll use that there. But as always, I'm out. Pee Wee the Plug, NBA Weekly.